Hey, what happened?
Hey, yo, what's good, people, man? I know it's been a little minute since we've had an update regarding Genesis, but some news has dropped, not too bad, and it's, a little disheartening, but in all seriousness, it's still a good thing. I'll talk about more of that later once we really get into it, but today, we're just going to be going over that, as well as I'm going to be starting a new thing where I'm going to break down some of the characters, just, each one that I personally plan to play, and then eventually getting to the point where I've covered most of them once we've gotten a little more into the game and actually can see what they do. So this is just going to be about what they have on the site listed as the main personal build outs for them, the items, and what they do. So without further ado, hit the intro. So like I said earlier in the video, there's just been a little bit of an update with the Genesis MOBA from Rampage. I'm also in their Discord as well as I follow them on Twitter. Be sure to do that too if you want to stay up to date on anything that they're going to be putting out and any information that they may have prior to launch. But as of last Wednesday in the Discord, they said to all the players of Genesis, it's been a tough couple of months leading up to this summer. While all of you have been looking forward to enjoying Genesis, the team here at Rampage have been doing their utmost best to meet the deadline. Getting a game through all the processes and procedures leading up to a release is always challenging, and to preserve the quality but still meet the announced date is often the most intense period of development, which is very true. In order to achieve this level of quality that we wish to deliver, we have come to the decision to slightly delay the launch until sometime in August. So it's been pushed back, and a lot of people have been very saddened by this. I myself is one who's looking forward to playing this, but I would rather have a polished, clean, neat game rather than something that's forcibly rushed just to meet a deadline for all of us, hardcore enthusiasts who want to actually get into the game. So that's what they said last Wednesday in the Discord, but then they also hit Twitter on the 10th and said in order to preserve the quality of the game, which is basically what I said again, they had to push it back, and that's not a bad thing. Again, quality over quantity has always been my biggest thing. In the last few years here, there have been some games that have dropped, and I'm a big anime fan, as this the name of this channel, Anime Trap House. A lot of the more anime based games within the last few years or so have just been a carbon copy and a repetitive push of disgusting games, like no content, lackluster. I miss the days of having a full game when purchasing it, rather than I purchase a game, it gives me subpar content, lots of glitches, lots of bugs, and then you start patching it way later once it's already died off. Like that's just the trend now. But getting past that, I applaud Rampage for what they're doing. I look forward to still playing this and covering it and going over more of the information that'll be given once we get into the game. But other than that, let's get into this, man. We're gonna go over Chris. We'll be getting into our homie, the Alchemist, young flimsy tripper himself, Chris. So just a little bit about Chris's background. Chris Smelter is a bright, happy fella born into a family of biochemists in Europe. His ancestors, the great alchemist Michael Smelter, was made count in Prague by King Randolph II of the Holy Man Empire. Fascinated by biochemistry at a young age, Chris came into his ancestor Michael's diary. From then on, he's started combining biochemistry with alchemy. Chris's father, John, is a biochemist working for the Space Fleet and has transferred to Mars Research Center as lead researcher. Following his father to Mars, Chris quickly became friends with children of other scientists living there. Lita was one of them. Lita always plays pranks on Chris. We don't know who Lita may be yet. Also jokingly makes fun of Chris's ancestry and alchemy, saying alchemy has no real base in science, and calling Chris superstitious. Chris knows that how Lita shows affection, the two soon becomes best friends. Oh, he knows that's how she shows affection. Okay. When Chris found out Lita snuck aboard the ship heading to the Chaos War, he packed up his device and inventions, hoping to prevent Lita from the dangers of battle. He also hopes to prove the worth of alchemy as well as the worth of his ancestry. So that's a little bit about Chris. So that's what makes him driven. That's what gives him his motivation. So now we dive into Chris as a character. He's a mage support. which, you know, that will mean he's going to be bottom lane. He's going to be helping assist, maybe set up some ganks, keeping people alive and or healed. So these are his moves in a sense. So his first move being Stable Concoction. Sorry about that. Lobs a vial containing a stabilization concoction that heals friendly heroes / damages enemies in the area over time. If the target dies while stable concoction is active, Chris receives additional gold. So in a sense, it's kind of like Anna's grenade from Overwatch. Then his second ability, UFO Strike, fires a UFO at an enemy until it bounces, dealing damage and stunning. Effects are doubled from regular units. Now, this ability could be easily used to set up a lot of ganks, set up a lot of stuns, a lot of power plays. In my video, when I was first covering it back in March, I noticed that quite a lot, that I allowed bot, when I was in bottom lane, some of the plays I did set up to get kills or assists, that comes in handy. So UFO Strike's definitely a good one for when you start getting heavy into your power play. Then his other ability, Pacification Field, Chris's abilities and basic attacks deal damage over time to enemy units. I think this is just a passive maybe, or I could be wrong, because it has no cooldown. Reducing their attack speed and movement speed. Effects last a short while and can stack several times. Okay, I don't think that is that's not a passive, it's actually an active ability, sorry. And then his final ability, I believe this is his ultimate, the Acid Emissions. Chris tosses a glob of energy ahead of him. The globe spins forward, dealing damage to nearby enemy units. So yeah, that is his ultimate. I saw that, and it kind of has some pushback to it, even though it's dealing damage. Some enemies actually do kind of get pushed back. I noticed when I just rewatched my video somewhat. So now we'll get down into his actual sorry, I have a little something in my throat, my apologies, into his actual item build. So his first item that they built out on the website is the Reatomizer. And for any of you who don't know, most of these items do build up, so you have the option of picking one item, then enhancing it to the next to finally get the first and final item. So the first two options you get to build out to the Reatomizer are the Power Piston and the Battery Shield. The Power Piston giving you plus 20 energy damage, and the Battery Shield giving you plus 25 energy. So ability damage over having more mana early game, which I would prioritize having more energy. I would take the Battery Shard more so than anything, just because I want to have that that ability to stay alive way more down there, not have to actually go back or be using my items. And then from there you can buy the Polarimeter, which gives you plus 300 energy and plus 30 damage. So look at that, you're already getting an increase. And then from there you boost out and you finally get the Reatomizer, which gives you 70 energy damage, plus 200 health, plus 500 energy, and 3.5 health regen, which isn't bad at all. That's a nice item. And I looked over a few of these items, people, like trying to figure out what items possibly could be changed out, what can make some better builds or some potential swap outs depending on how you wanted to play. But seeing as when I play support, I'm very passive and team play oriented, so I'm never going in or trying to get a lot of kills. I just like to, you know, play my position, stay in the side lane, keep my folks alive, and help out as best as I can, setting up for moves. But the Reatomizer does also actually have a active ability called Reshape. Turns an enemy into a sheep and casts slow for 2.5 seconds. So that's the Reatomizer. Let's get into his movement item, which they had the Artemis boots, which are the optimal choice for him, which are, you know, just to get him some speed, because he's slow. Everybody needs a speed boost. So we also have again, more items to choose from. I do have an optional choice in the matter regarding these boots. So you start off with the Star Hoppers, which give you plus 45 movement speed, and then from there you can go towards the Hermes sneakers, which give you plus 60 movement speed, plus 40 energy damage. But here's where I optioned one out when I was looking over some of the other movement items. You can get the Battery Stomper, which gives you plus 60 movement speed, plus 250 energy, And it also has the passive ability. It restores 135 energy to friendly units in a radius around the wearer, basically Chris. So I mean, that's one of the options for, rather than building the Artemis boots, I thought the battery stomper would play more towards my style, because I can help those around me regain back some of their energy so we can keep fighting, keep using their abilities. Now, it doesn't affect cooldowns, but it does allow for my team to not, or whoever's down bottom lane with me, to not run out of energy. And then the Artemis boots, they give you plus 80 movement speed, plus 60 energy damage. And then we move on to his next item, which is the Scepter of Zeus. The Scepter of Zeus is built actually similar to the Reatomizer. So you basically have your choice of either picking the Power Piston or the Battery Atomizer. And at this point, I'd probably, if I'm building on the third item, I'd probably start just picking the Power Piston, because I want to have more ability damage rather than energy. I should be pretty good by the time I'm building up to a third item, depending on how late or early in game it is, or how much gold I've amassed at this point. And then again, it goes into the polarimeter, and then you pick the Scepter of Zeus, which has plus 60 energy damage, 250 health, plus 400 energy, and a 7% increase of movement speed. Now, it does also have its own, so the Scepter of Zeus, its passive ability is Divine Wrath. Every 4.5 seconds, Divine Wrath strikes a random enemy in a 650 radius around, basically Chris. Divine Wrath deals plus 30 energy damage, or 30 plus energy damage, and radius of the attack resistance by 15 for 2 seconds. And effect can be stacked 3 times. Each time the wearer travels a distance of 240, the cooldown of Divine Wrath is reduced by 1 second, with a minimum of 2 seconds as a shortened cooldown. So it's an all or nothing thing. The more you keep doing stuff, basically you'll have ways to damage people. So I mean, I get why they're putting these items on Chris, as his power play ability to me seems ridiculously OP. It is OP. It's just, it'll be all about how you utilize them and how things play into your favor. And then his final item that they have on the site will be the Helm of Hades. The Helm of Hades, again, it starts off with the two items, the Power Piston and then the Supercharger. As we already know, the Power Piston gives us plus 20 energy damage, and the Supercharger gives us plus 10% cooldown reduction. I would definitely go for that. Then you can build that into the Gamma Gloves, which gives you plus 60 energy damage and 15% cooldown reduction, which then gets you the Helm of Hades, which gives you plus 60 energy damage and a 20% cooldown. And it has a passive as well called Curse. Abilities dealt additional energy damage equivalent to 7% of the target's current health. So if you're doing things right, Chris should have a big amount of health at this point, and that's kind of disgusting. And has a cooldown of 2.5 seconds when multiple abilities are used against a single target. Additional damage is capped at 350. So I mean, there's still a large margin of damage Chris can do. He could probably, not saying it's likely all the time, but I mean, if you have these 4 items built out and done, or if he's played the right way, Chris could probably do a lot of damage to some heroes in his same marginal bracket of support. Not more the tanky support characters, but some of the squishies, he may have some survivability. Definitely that stun ability can definitely be used for some escapes. I done it myself. Ran away from a William who was coming at me trying to take my life away. But yeah, that's what they've gotten so far. I'm not sure if it's you can build out 6. I did go back and look at my video, and I know that there's like 4 slots full, and then there's 2 more empty spaces for additional items. But this is all they have right now on the site. So, you know, like I said, guys, I'm gonna be covering more of these heroes. You know, let me know down in the comments if you like this, if you want me to do more heroes, or any heroes you would like me to cover, just talk about. We'll get more into them, and I will be doing updates on these videos eventually once we get into the game and more items may get introduced or some changes may happen. But you know, I appreciate y'all for coming through. If you like this, man, leave a like. If you like my content, hit the subscribe button. You know, I appreciate everything, and I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.